This is working. Welcome to the Holistic Homo podcast. This is your host, Dirk Schultz, and I am the owner of M3 Coaching and Fitness. I am here with my friend, Tony Colucci, who's also the co-host of the Holistic Homo. And Tony and I are going to be talking about the power of yes. And to give you a little bit
Yes.
of background on Tony, he started his first business in 1986, had some retail stores, 3 dance studios, and over the next 3 years expanded into multiple locations with 7 rooms. You've been a very busy man, Tony, over the past 30 years. In 1987, Tony started teaching at Ohio State University. Then in 1994, began teaching at the Joffrey Ballet School. In 1995, Tony brought in nationally recognized teachers as full-time faculty members to the studio. 1996, Tony won national recognition dance competitions in New York City. 2004, began teaching at Western Michigan University as associate professor in dance and musical theater. Many of Tony's students have started to book Broadway shows after being under the guidance of only about 3 years with Tony. He then sold his business in 2015, and that is a lot of ground to cover in that time frame. So welcome to the Holistic Homo podcast, Tony. And again, we're going to be talking about the power of yes.
Yes, we are.
And did I miss anything? I kind of went over your history briefly. Anything that I missed that you want to add in?
No, you kind of hit the bullet points of all that past
Awesome.
history of myself.
Yeah, as I mentioned, you've been a very, very busy man.
Yes.
And looking at your list of accomplishments, I know I have my own experience with saying yes to certain situations in how saying yes has changed the trajectory of my life. How has saying yes done that for you?
If it wasn't for that word yes, I don't think I'd be where I was today, or I would have experienced the things that I experienced over the last 40 years. I mean, I was a very shy kid. And when people would ask me to go do something, I would say yes, just not to disappoint them. And that's basically how things always began with me. Even I danced on a TV show when I was in high school. And the only reason that ever happened was because this girl that I knew said, I want to do this. You want to do this with me? And I said, yes. And not knowing anything, we ended up on a television show. And just because I said yes. And I kind of went with that for the rest of my life. When I was in college, and a friend of mine said, I think you should go to graduate school. And I was like, you think? She's like, yeah, it'd be a really, really good thing for you to do. And so I said yes, auditioned. I got into numerous universities around the country, from NYU to UCLA, and I picked Ohio State to go to graduate school. I was in New York for a while, and I met this older woman who said to me, I hear you're coming to Columbus, Ohio. I said, yes. And I have a studio. I'd like you to teach in it. When you come to Columbus, give me a call. And I said, okay. So I did. I said yes, and met her. We ended up becoming business partners, and she and I owned my first retail store, and we opened my first dance studio together just because I said yes to her. And 3 years later, I wanted to expand. I bought her out, and my little empire started.
That's awesome. That's part of the people pleaser in us, right? To say yes,
Totally.
but it
Yes.
also serves us, right?
It's served me very well. I really used to get asked to do a lot of things, and I constantly said yes. And people said, you're running around doing all these things. And I was like, yeah, but it's one thing leads to another.
Yeah.
And, you say yes. I was asked to go teach company class for major ballet companies. And I had a lot of fantastic ballet training, but I never performed as a ballet dancer. But I was like, you know what? I can do this. I have enough knowledge in my head, and I'm smart enough, and I'm going to just put myself in these situations. And sure enough, I ended up teaching for the Joffrey Ballet. So,
That's
you
awesome.
know, all because I just kept saying yes. And I really did think, if I don't know what I'm doing, I can call somebody who can direct me in the right direction. I know enough people, and I know what I know. I also know what I don't know. So if I stick with what I know, I'm going to be okay.
And then you can figure the rest out.
Figure the rest out, right?
Yeah. It's one of those things you say yes and then figure it out. It's one of the things that I love about the power of yes is saying yes to this leads to the next opportunity to say yes to.
100%.
So,
100%. I think people don't understand that. It's like a chain reaction. You get yourself into one situation and you positively get yourself through that and you do the best you can. You bring your best game forward. And then someone sees that and recognizes that and they ask you to do something else and you say yes to that. And it literally just became my whole career has been that way. I get asked to go do things and some people think, oh, why would you go do that? Well, they ended up being super lucrative and put me on a spotlight and more people got to see my work, more people got to see what I could do. And one thing leads to another. And I mean, I did so much work just because I said yes.
well, and saying yes also helps to build our self-confidence, right?
Totally.
It's kind of lays the foundation. You say yes, and then you figure it out. You say yes to the next thing, more confidence, more experience.
More than people realize. I mean, when you say no, it's kind of we kind of take that our entire system shuts down a little bit when you say no, no. But when you say yes, you kind of your chest perks up, you stand a little bit taller, and you say, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can. And you're pumping yourself up the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a time and place to say no, our boundaries when we need to say no. But when we say, and no can be constrictive in a lot of ways, but saying yes can be expansive. And yes is part of that growth mindset, right?
Oh,
Saying
very
no or
well.
thinking you can't is that fixed mindset. But saying yes kind of puts us in that growth mindset and our mind goes to work to figure it out.
Very well said. It really does happen. You get yourself in this situation, you start to bring your best game forward. Your
Yeah,
A game comes forward. And the next time you get there, your A game is a little bit better. And then it's because you're going in with the next thing with more confidence and your game gets better and you get sharper and your toolbox gets filled
yeah.
and you have more things to start pulling from because you have all this experience behind you because you've said yes.
That's awesome. I know my own experience was I was living in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, and I applied for a job at the Aspen Club and Spa. And I went for the interview. And the woman who was interviewing me, Dawn Shepard, who became my boss and then mentor, said yes to me. But I also said yes to the opportunity. I didn't
Correct.
know what I was doing, what I was getting into, but I knew I could figure it out. Right. And
Hmm.
through that opportunity, I I chose to start from the ground level and work my way up, but I was open. I was kind of that sponge to learn.
Hmm.
And her saying yes and help guiding me helped to create what I'm doing now
And
with
who
the
you
M3
are
method and the studio and the books.
and who you are as a person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What would you say some of the highlights of your creating the business, being a professor? What are some of the highlights or takeaways you've gained?
Teaching the kids was always incredibly fulfilling. I started some of these kids when they were 3 years old. They stayed with me until they were 18, 19 years old, still in contact with a lot of those kids. Teaching at the college level, I took these kids that were eager, hungry, and I showed them the best way to make themselves the best asset they can be. And it worked. Those kids went, a number of kids on Broadway, a number of kids in regional shows, all equity members, tours, cruise ships. I mean, tons of work. And I used to tell them, you get yourself onto the stage and someone asks you, can you do a back handspring? You tell them yes. You can figure it out. You go do it. Can you do a cartwheel? Yes. Can you? Who knows? You figure it out. But I had a friend of mine who was in a Rico copy commercial and they said to her, can you dive and can you like dive through the air and land on the floor? And she was just like, she thought to herself, well, if this gets me this national commercial, you're darn right I can dive and land on that. And sure enough, she dove, landed on this mat, and she was in a National Rico copy commercial
That's awesome.
just because she said yes. She's like, I had a friend who went in with just multicolor wigs into auditions, and she was like, who they're looking for. Oh, okay, well, now I'm a redhead. Yes, I can do this. I'm a redhead. It's the power of yes gives you confidence that you didn't even know you had.
And having enough wigs.
Yeah, that and I for me, a lot of the biggest things that happened in my career was because I said yes, whether I thought I was ready for them or had the tools in my toolbox for them or not, I still said yes. I choreographed for the Limited Corporation, and someone asked me, "Have you ever done a fashion show before?" And I was like, yes, I have. They didn't really ask me to what capacity, but I said yes. And I ended up working with Limited for 5 years, choreographing their national fashion shows,
Wow.
which whoever thought I would end up doing that, but it was very lucrative and it was a great job. And it was in Columbus, Ohio, where I was living. So it couldn't have been any better for me to do professionally.
That's awesome. I know my own experience has been my limiting beliefs, my stories, my internal narrative has tried to keep me small. And I would
Hmm.
look for excuses of why not to do something. And then when I shifted my mindset into why not, let's go for it and saying yes, and let's figure it out has really
Hmm.
led to some amazing experiences and led me to meet some amazing people.
And it does, I mean, no, no, no shuts you down, shuts you down, shuts you down. And it takes your growth mindset into a fixed
Yeah.
mindset. And that doesn't get you anywhere.
And it keeps kind of boxes you in and keeps your
Hmm.
world smaller.
Correct. There's no doubt about that.
You
I've gotten
met,
into a lot of great situations because I kept saying yes.
yeah. Yeah, I'm a big believer of the power of yes and knowing as long as it's in alignment to my vision, my personal vision, my
Mhm.
personal mission statement that I
Mhm.
hold. You mentioned your kids, the
Yeah.
students, and some of the people who you've taught along the way. You're still in contact with a lot of them.
I'm in contact with an amazing amount of kids. I had the studio for 30 years. We got very large at one point, 3 locations, 7 rooms. So we were a pretty big operation, a very disciplined, strict studio, but you know, the kids and I got along great. They grew to love the discipline. They knew that when they came into the studio, they left their day behind them and they walked in with a fresh attitude every time they came to class. So yeah, I'm in contact with a lot of them and they have great stories about being at the studio and the fun they had the whole time they were there for, 15 years for most of them. And I
And
saw them, I saw them almost every day. I gave them Friday nights off because they can go to a football game, but they were in Saturday rehearsal and in Sunday rehearsal, and so was I. So it was a Monday through Thursday, 6 day a week schedule with these, talented kids
well, think about the impact you've had along the way too, and the impact that they have had
on me.
on you, right? And them
Mhm.
saying yes to your program and you saying yes to them. And
It
you,
also fostered a sense of creativity for me because they said yes, and I had people believing in me.
yes,
So it
right.
fostered a better creative person out of me. It kept pushing me creatively further. And because I knew I had this support behind me, I felt confident to go do things that I probably would have never done before.
You mentioned the discipline that you created in the environment and the culture you created in the studios. And from some of your students that I've met, they still lean into that.
Oh,
That has helped them in their adult life.
absolutely. Yeah.
One
Career
thing,
wise,
what's that?
especially career wise.
Yes, right, right. And in relationships and
Hmm.
how they navigate the world.
Yes, correct.
I have written a couple books, and Tony has said yes to writing a book. Can you share a little bit about that, Tony?
Yeah. Our ghostwriter kept telling me, I have a book in you. You should definitely write a book. And I was like, no, 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 no. I have no interest in writing a book. I have absolutely nothing to say. And he asked me, just do me a favor. I want you to put a questionnaire out to your kids, your former students, and see if you get anything back. And I was like, okay, yes, that I can do. And I'm not going to feel like I'm infringing on people. So I sent it out, 60 of them out, and I got 55 back. And it kind of was overwhelming, especially emotionally, because you start reading what these kids have written, how I impacted their life, things that I didn't know that I did. I was just being me, being my comical self, being funny, being strict, being loving. And you realize the impact you had on those kids. It was pretty amazing to read. So the book, yeah, the book is still in progress, but it's happening. It's really
It,
happening because I said yes.
it's happening. And I love that you said yes to that. And to witness the impact that yes has had on you, and especially when you've gotten those letters back and
Oh, yeah.
realize, wow, I really had this impact by saying yes to myself and creating this space and creating these studios. It has had this ripple effect into these people's lives.
Oh, both personally, professionally, the kids who've gone on to dance professionally is because it's the foundation and the discipline they got while they were at the studio. And the training. The training was very good. We had fantastic faculty. My faculty stayed with me for some of them for over 27 years.
Awesome.
So we We had a really good business going and a good crop of faculty, and the kids benefited from all that. And as the faculty said yes to me, I said yes to them, and they said yes to me, and we built a very, very strong studios.
And from what you've talked to me about and told me about, you saying yes to them, but you took really good care of your students and your faculty.
No, of course I did. Yeah,
Yeah, which
yeah,
created a
absolutely.
culture, created an environment, a safe place. And many of those people may have not had that any other place.
Oh, maybe not at home. Some kids didn't come from the best home life, but they came to the studio and it was their second home. For some of them, it was their first home.
Yeah,
They knew they came there every day after school. I'd heard the problems. They'd be sitting on the floor in the studio, and I would pretend I was taking attendance or reading something, and I'd listen to them all talk and find out what's going on in their life. And then, okay, how can I apply that to today's class? What can I
yes,
do today to kind of address that indirectly? And if there was a big problem, I would sit down and say, hey, let's talk in the office for a minute. Come to my office. And it was never, no one was ever afraid to do it. It wasn't like I was the principal, but it was always, I have these photos of some of the kids at my studio sitting on the couch in my office, and they're all sitting there just hysterically laughing. And that's the kind of atmosphere I had. I didn't want to, it was a strict environment, but it was also a lot of fun. We would have never been as successful as we were if it wasn't that kind of a situation.
right, right. It's really cool that you were able to create that, and they still talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. And in my faculty too, they said yes to me all the time too. I used to have these crazy ass ideas about doing things, and they were like, "Okay, well, yeah, let's flush that out. Let's see how that can work. Let's try this." And with the studio, I had a lot of studios do competition, and we did, and we ended up to the point that we had won national titles. And I thought, oh, this is kind of redundant to do this again and expensive. What can we do better? So I pulled the parents together and I said, I want to form a 501(c) nonprofit company. And I want to be a pre-professional company. So the kids get different types of training with different types of choreographers coming in from all over the country. So the parents said yes. So I formed my 501(c), started a dance company, started bringing my friends in from New York and from Europe to come and choreograph. And the company lasted 20 years.
Wow,
And it was because the parents said yes to me. And I knew I had to say yes back to the kids ultimately, because it was their company and I wanted them to rise up to the level that I was expecting. So we brought in the best people, we brought in the best faculty, and it turned out to be an amazing experience for everybody who was ever involved for 20 years.
that's awesome. If you had someone who is kicking around doing something or is trying to figure out if they're going to say yes to a situation or an opportunity, what
Yeah.
recommendation would you give them?
Well, yes always opens the door. Okay. You can open the door and then you can figure out what happens from there. Then at that point, you can say no if you need to, if it's not a good thing for you to do. But once you say no, the door is closed.
Right.
There's no window opening, there's no door closing. I mean, no door opening, the door is closing, period. But if you say yes and you go to a meeting or you find out what's going on, then you can make a better assessment of a situation if you want to continue with the word yes, or you pull back and say yes to yourself that this is not a good thing for me to be doing.
Right. Right. Beautiful. And it's true. It's like, as I mentioned, yes is expansive, opens up the door, opens up opportunity. It gets our mind looking for solutions.
Yeah.
No is constrictive. It puts us in a small box. As I
Mm.
mentioned, no is appropriate at sometimes. But again, if in my own experience, if I didn't say yes to certain situations, I wouldn't be where I'm at or who I am. So it's
Same
a,
with me. Exactly the same. I mean, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't, I think to myself, what would I have done with my life if I didn't say yes to this, that, and the other thing? And it was especially in the very beginning when I really didn't know what was going on and I thought I was this shy kid. I'm just going to say yes. Like,
yeah,
I would have, I was the kid in school who had the desk in the corner by himself. And to end up being on a TV show in high school where I was thrust into popularity, it was all because my friend said, let's go do this. And I said, yeah.
yeah.
And she was a little powerhouse and she just wanted us to go and do it. We're going to do it. I was like, okay, okay, whatever you say.
And then you figured it out.
Yeah, figured it out.
So at the Holistic Homo, as you know, our mission is to empower others to live bold. What empowers you to live bold?
My history, where I came from, all the things that I've done in my life, the people that have supported me, they have built me up.
Mm,
And even to this day, my friends here, my friends in the past who are still friends, still we're still all close. They still It's their confidence in me that boosts me, that puts me up and kept me on a pedestal and always pushed me forward, you know. And I've gotten, as I got older, you just realize, life is short.
Yeah.
You go do it,
Yeah.
experience it,
Absolutely.
You can, yeah, you're gonna sit in your chair and wait. Like, no, get out and live. Go and do it. Say yes, go do it.
That's awesome.
Live.
What's next for you?
What's next? Well, this podcast is pretty awesome. We're having a blast doing this.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun, a lot of learning experience. That's where I am right now with this. That's just saying yes to everything that comes along my way and enjoying it.
Yeah. It's a pleasure to have you as a part of this
Thank
journey
you.
with the Holistic Homo and also with creating the M3 business. So I really, really appreciate your friendship and your guidance and your help along the way.
You are more than welcome. My
There's one thing
pleasure.
I want to wrap up with. It's from the book, and it's kind of around saying yes. I flip open the Gay, Gray, and Fit After 50 book, page 162. It's under Badass Life, creating your badass life. The only thing that stands between you and your goal is the bullshit story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. The only thing that stands between you and your goal is the bullshit story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. So I encourage all of you out there to lean into the power of yes. What is something you could say yes to this week, this month, this year that would lead to the next yes to help you get empowered to live bold? I'm really excited for this episode. Looking forward to more episodes in the future. Keep looking for the Holistic Homo. And until next time, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Dirk.